Hello and welcome to Second Edition. I'm Noah Rashog.
And I'm Corey Taylor. We've got a great show for you. This week, we're taking a deep dive into the ins and outs of seasonal depression.
Additionally, we're going to be lighting up the city for the holidays and baking some tasty cookies. But first, youth under 12 in Alberta are now eligible for the vaccine.
Vaccinations are rolling out for children under 12 in Alberta. The Alberta government has officially laid out its plan for vaccination for individuals under the age of 12. With rollout beginning, the final phase of vaccinations has begun. Mass vaccination centers have opened up across the city, similar to the initial rollouts earlier this year.
Kids are probably one of the spreaders, and they're one of the probably the bigger spreaders because they get it. They don't get seriously sick, so you don't even necessarily know if they're sick. And then they have encounters with so many people, with classrooms, with teachers, with babysitters, with daycare, with their parents, friends. Like, they have a very vast number of social contacts. So I think that while everybody wanted to be careful with the vaccine for kids, getting them vaccinated is an important part of the pandemic effort.
With concerns about how many children will be vaccinated compared to adults, this story will continue to develop in the coming months.
After months of debate and deliberation, the Legislature Annex building is finally coming down. This famous piece of Edmonton architecture has outlived its usefulness to the city. Although appearing to be unremarkable, the Legislature Annex, when first constructed in 1951, was a pioneer for its time, being one of the world's first buildings to not have a load-bearing exterior. After sitting nearly vacant for years, it's now finally coming down.
It was one of the very first buildings in the world to have used this technology. And the real fascinating part of this is that this technology was developed by a local architectural firm, Rule, Win and Rule, and they were architects who had offices here in Edmonton and in Winnipeg.
The grounds in which the annex stands are to be added to the existing green space at the legislature.
Christmas trees are going to be a little more expensive and harder to come by this season. Thanks to the hotter than average summer, Christmas trees are in short supply this season. The dry weather has meant that there aren't as many real trees available for families this year, while the rising costs of shipping products around the world have also made artificial trees more expensive.
Well, they are available, but because there are fewer, you want to get on top of it sooner rather than later. I know some of us have our Christmas traditions where maybe we're going to go out and pick a tree a few days before Christmas or a week or two, but you might be out of luck if you wait that long, so maybe bump that tradition up a little sooner and get right after it early.
If there are no trees left when you go to get yours, you can get a free permit from the Alberta government to harvest your own tree on Crown lands.
Santa will be returning in person to Kingsway Mall this year, and they threw a parade in his honor. This Sunday saw Kingsway Mall throw a large holiday parade. There were more than 30 floats from local businesses and sports teams throwing candy and some toys to the excited children and onlookers. This is the first time Santa has been back in the mall in person since the pandemic began.
Big man himself will be the last float in the parade today. Of course, most of the children along the parade route will be very excited to see him, I'm sure. And I'm pretty sure this is the only outdoor holiday parade this year in the city of Edmonton. He will be getting dropped off at the Kingsway Mall, where he will go inside immediately following the parade.
Parents who want to bring their children to take pictures with Santa will have to schedule an appointment through the mall. It's that time of year again, Corey. Do you know how you're going to kickstart your holidays?
Well, Noah, there's just so many events going on that it's hard to choose. Luckily, Jack is here with entertainment to help us decide.
After its absence last year due to COVID, the Downtown Light Up event returns this year to bring Edmontonians together to celebrate and kick off the holiday season. It's been quiet in Churchill Square, but the Downtown Business Association is hoping to change that with this year's event. With a massive light-up tree still in the heart of downtown, it's something that Edmontonians can look forward to.
Things are feeling almost back to normal, although not nearly as busy as we'd like them to be downtown. But an event like this marks, I think, a really important return to people getting used to coming downtown and celebrating and coming together.
The free event takes place every other Saturday, starting December 4th and ending on the 18th. It welcomes Edmontonians to jumpstart their holiday season with live entertainment and celebrate a return to this yearly event. With the holidays fast approaching, one park in Edmonton is bringing the spirit back to Whyte Avenue.
Welcome to Lights on Whyte!
This year would have marked Winter Whyte's 4th annual celebration, but that isn't slowing this ambitious event. Sherry Clausen says this is more than just lights for the people of Edmonton.
Representing nearly 600 businesses in Old Strathcona, having something to kick off the holiday season was so vital this year. After a rough nearly 2 years for our businesses, we really wanted to bring the spirit of the holidays back.
If you missed the event this year, don't worry. Clausen hopes for the event to reach more people to support local businesses when they return for their 5th season. And that's just a taste of the events this year. What do you guys think?
That downtown light up looks outstanding. I'll have to check it out.
And while you're dancing downtown, Corey, I think I'm going to have to go straight to Whyte Ave. Thanks, Jack. This year, you may want to add local art to your Christmas list.
Danielle Bernard interviewed a local maker to tell us more.
Hi, I'm Danielle Bernard. I'm here with Angie White. How are you today?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So I hear you're part of the Edmonton Maker community. What is that?
Edmonton Makers are local artisans that create beautiful art pieces with their hands. So for example, I create art pieces that involve yarn. I have things that are knitted and crocheted. I have bags that I sew, crochet things that use thread to make lace items, and I just recently started woodburning, so that's exciting. But a lot of other artisans use different mediums to express their art, including metalwork. I know a local blacksmith. Many of them sell them in markets and go to different events.
So are these events more focused on selling, or is it more kind of a gallery showing off type of event?
A lot of the markets that artisans participate in are mostly focused on selling things. The markets range in size from, going to your local farmer's market and somebody purchasing a booth to, in Edmonton this coming weekend actually, there's a big event at the Butterdome. A lot of these people go to these markets and they actually rely on the income. A lot of them are so good at what they do that is their income. They don't have full-time jobs anymore. Their full-time job is to be a maker.
So how would you say that the COVID-19 pandemic has affected the maker community?
It's grown exponentially. As people were dealing with the stress and depression and anxiety, people need a way to express themselves. They need a way to let that frustration, that stress, that depression out.
So before we go, do you have anything else you would like to add?
I guess the only thing that, I might ask of the community is, as you guys are going around doing your Christmas shopping this year, big box stores like Walmart and Superstore and all those kind of things, they'll survive the pandemic. Of course they will, they're giant. But as you kind of go, maybe consider purchasing something from a local artisan. They sometimes depend on that money, that income to survive. There's tons of shops everywhere. You can Google it online. And then that would create a little bit of extra Christmas cheer for them.
Well, thank you so much for your time. It was wonderful having this chat with you.
And thank you so much for coming and letting me talk about our local community, the artisan community within Edmonton. It's been great.
And thank you for watching. I'm Danielle Bernard for Second Edition News.
Stuff a Bus is finally back with annual food donations going to the Edmonton Food Bank.
We go to Brandon Beauchamp with that story.
Thanks, guys. Today I'm here with
Carrie Style.
And what is Stuff a Bus?
Stuff a Bus is an annual fundraiser for Edmonton's Food Bank, and it's actually one of the largest fundraisers for the food bank. So Edmonton Transit Service partners with Save on Foods, and it's just a fabulous fundraiser.
So how much effort goes into creating this event every year?
This takes quite a bit of planning. So every single Save on Foods within the entire city of Edmonton participates. So it's logistics, it's volunteers, we've got bus drivers volunteers, we've got transit peace officers who volunteer. So it's a huge effort between Save on Foods and our City of Edmonton staff and partners.
So who do these donations typically go to after Stuff a Bus?
So this goes right to Edmonton's Food Bank right after this, and we have another crew of volunteers who are unpacking the bus, and it goes to all of the people that Edmonton Food Bank supports.
So what has been your biggest challenges with this event in past years?
Well, I think it's fair to say COVID was a challenge. We did have to cancel our event last year, our in-person event. We still had lots of online donations. But I think, as you can see, our bus is full, and Edmontonians have always responded. Like I said, our bus is 2/3 full, and we're only halfway through the day, so this has been such a great fundraiser over the years.
What typically goes into making this event possible? Like, what are the simple steps that you do?
Well, it's really a huge event. So we're talking about coordinating all of the routes. We're talking about coordinating all the buses, making sure they're available, the drivers, the additional volunteers. This year we had extra safety protocols that we had to follow, and also things like the advertising, the different ways you can donate. So it really is a huge undertaking for our event organizer.
So typically, how many volunteers do you get every year for Stuff a Bus?
We have 2 shifts. We have 2 drivers per day. The event goes over 4 days. Then we have a host, 2 shifts, and then we have a whole nother crew, and so that's at every Save on Foods location. Plus we have a whole nother crew from the Edmonton Food Bank who helps unload. So I would say, like, we're talking dozens of volunteers.
With the challenges that came with Stuff a Bus last year being virtual, it's fair to say that Stuff a Bus is back in person and the buses may finally be stuffed. I'm Brandon Beauchamp, 2nd edition.
Next up is an annual festival that celebrates women and non-binary artists.
Zaya Reginden has more on that story.
Thanks, guys. Today I'm joined by Skirts of Fire Artistic Director Annette Loisel to talk about how this annual festival celebrates and shines on to different kinds of artists. So how are you doing today?
Really good, thanks.
What is Skirts of Fire and why was it created?
Skirts of Fire is a theater and multidisciplinary arts festival that features the work of women and non-binary artists. And it was created essentially to provide opportunities for women because they are severely underrepresented in the arts. And theater in particular, you know, when we first started the festival 10 years ago, it was mostly to create more work for women in theater, but then we realized that it was other art forms were also lacking in representation of women. And eventually we included non-binary artists in our call because we realized that they have been severely underrepresented as well. So it was to fill a hole in the stories that we're hearing in the arts, in theater and music and dance and visual art, because you know, our audiences are made up mostly of women, and so they should be seeing and hearing their own stories on the stages.
Could you talk more about where you guys, where your guys' venue is located and anything new that you guys will be adding for this year's festival?
Yeah, so we this year are in Old Strathcona, and we actually made that choice for our 2021 festival when we were deep in COVID. Our 2020 festival and previous festivals, we were spread out around the city. We started on Alberta Avenue. That's where Skirts of Fire began.
And is there a way or is there an application process if artists want to join the festival? Like, how can they join?
So yeah, we every year, early in July, we put out a submission call for artists, and we promote it as widely as we're able, and a lot of it is word of mouth, but it's really grown over the years as to how many artists will put in their submission.
All right, thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Thank you so much, and I hope you can come out to the festival.
For 2nd edition, I'm Zaya Reginden.
After the break, we'll look at ways to combat seasonal depression.
And we'll be taking a trip to the kitchen for some tasty holiday treats. Don't touch that dial. Welcome back to 2nd edition. Edmonton's professional football team has made some changes this year.
And we're not just talking about their name. The Edmonton Elks have fired 3 key members in a disastrous year for the club. Adam Ziccarelli is covering sports and joins us in studio.
It hasn't been 5 years removed from the last time the Elks won a Grey Cup, but now the organization has cleaned house. The football team has let go of 3 key individuals from the organization. The Elks fired President and CEO Chris Presson, General Manager Brock Sunderland, and head coach Jamie Elizondo last Monday after one of the worst seasons in Edmonton football history. The Elks posted a 3-10 record where they didn't win a single home game. This affected attendance late in the season, where the Elks were averaging in the low 20,000s. We spoke with Connor Halley from TSN 1260 about the organization's decision to let go of all 3 members.
I think they made this decision because it did hit them where it matters most, and that's the pocketbook. This organization, we talked about it, how the decline in attendance, it was obvious.
The Elks appointed Alan Watt as the Chief Intern Operating Officer. The team hoped to hire a new CEO by late January. The Grant MacEwan Griffins men's hockey team have finally joined CIS. After playing 22 years in the ACAC, the Griffins have finally made the transition to CIS, the league that hosts the larger universities in the country. The transition, however, hasn't been an easy one, with the Griffins posting a 3-7 record to start the season. Champions on 4 occasions in the ACAC, the Griffins hope to turn their season around. We spoke with Chase Thudium on how the team is handling the transition.
We're pretty excited as a group to kind of see how we match up against them. I mean, we want to give them our best. And it's exciting. We're all looking forward to it. We get a good week of practice under us here and get ready for the weekend.
The Griffins next hit the ice in a back-to-back against the University of Alberta on December 3rd and December 4th. Golden Bears and Griffins game might be an interesting one. Hopefully it lives up to the expectations and the rivalry that the Ooks and Griffins had for over the years.
No, it certainly seems like a very exciting time to be a Griffins fan.
Sounds like we're in for some fun hockey this season. Thanks, Adam.
Coming up on Second Edition, holiday baking and savory Korean food.
Plus tips on how to beat seasonal depression with Julian Schulthaus.
Hi, my name is Julian Schulthaus. Seasonal affective disorder affects many people, and as the days are getting shorter and shorter, sometimes it gets harder and harder to get up and enjoy the things in life you normally enjoy. So here are 4 tips on how to overcome seasonal affective disorder. Tip number 1. Always try to stick to your routine. Whether that is making your bed in the morning or making sure you always do something at a specific time, it doesn't matter what it is. Try to stick to it. If you feel as normal as possible, typically that will help. Tip number 2. You should try to exercise as much as possible. Exercise just gets the blood going, and sometimes it just makes you feel a little bit better. Studies show that you should try to get at least 2.5 hours of exercise a week to combat seasonal affective disorder. The next thing you'll want to do to overcome seasonal affective disorder is to get out and enjoy the sun as much as possible, as well as exercise. Seasonal affective disorder happens in roughly 2 to 3% of the population, but subsyndromal seasonal affective disorder is a much milder form that is much more common. Tip number 4. Try to get out and socialize as much as possible. Whether it is your family, your friends, or your loved ones, they could be feeling seasonal affective disorder as well. So you could try to extend your hand and establish these connections so people don't feel alone. It'll always help. If your sadness stays pretty bad, it is advised you talk to your doctor about your mental health. So there you have it. Those were 4 tips on how to overcome seasonal affective disorder. I am Julian Schulthaus for Second Edition. Oh, hi, Grandma. How are you doing?
Since it's now December 1st, I thought I'd show you how to bake holiday cookies for the season. So, let's get to it. First things first, let's wash our hands. Now let's add our ingredients. So we're gonna add 2.5 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of baking powder, 1 cup of butter, 1 egg, and 1.5 cups of white sugar. Next, we're gonna blend. Now we're gonna cut our cookies with a cookie cutter. You can get your cookie cutter at Michael's, that's where I got mine. Now you can repeat this step until the pan is full. Then you're gonna preheat your oven to 350, and you're gonna set the timer for 8 minutes. Now you can have fun and decorate the cookies as you wish. Once you're done, feel free to share these cookies with your friends. Have a good holiday and enjoy. From Second Edition, I'm Andrea Sokolowski.
Welcome to Cooking with Q. Today I'm taking you to the streets of Korea and making tteokbokki. Tteokbokki, or also known as spicy Korean rice cakes, is a quick, easy, and tasty dish that only takes about 20-25 minutes to cook from scratch. For this recipe, you will need some Korean rice cakes, some fish cakes, some gochujang, some Korean chili flakes, some garlic, some green onions, some sugar, some soy sauce, and some dashi. All right, first things first, we get our garlic, kind of crush that up. Now we got our green onions, we're gonna cut them in half. Half is for the sauce and the other half is for garnish. Cut them in half like so. Now these little ends, we're just gonna cut them up, dice them like normal. And these ones, just for garnish later. Now that we got that prep out of the way, let's work on our sauce. We need 3 tablespoons of the hot pepper paste. You'll probably want to use 2 spoons because it's very sticky and kind of hard to get out. Your minced garlic, 1 tablespoon of the hot chili flakes. Make it 2 if you like it really hot. And lastly, 1.5 tablespoons of brown sugar. I almost forgot about the fish cake. There's no right or wrong way. I usually just kind of cut it in little triangles or those little skewed rectangles. I don't know what you'd call those. Now that we have that, we can heat up the dashi, put in the sauce, put in the rice cakes, and we're pretty well home free after that. So the dashi doesn't take very long to heat up. It's only 2 cups, so once it starts to simmer, you can add in your sauce. And whisk it around so the hot pepper paste gets dissolved. You can add our onions too. And give this about 4 or 5 minutes to kind of heat up and start simmering. All right, it's starting to bubble. We can add our rice cakes and fish cakes. So then you're going to want to cook this on medium heat for about 8-10 minutes until all the broth is soaked up by the rice cakes. Make sure to keep stirring as much as you can. You don't want these rice cakes to get stuck to the pan. Drop a little sesame seed oil, some sesame seeds, and some green onions. And here it is.
Wow, can I have some?
For Second Edition, I'm Quentin Schroeder. Thanks for watching.
Well, that's it for all of us here at Second Edition.
We'll see you next week, everyone. Have a great night and stay safe.